Intrusive and obsessive thoughts about your relationship can make you feel crazy. They can drive you to say things that you deeply regret to your spouse or your partner. And then you suffer further because of that regret. You think to yourself, why do I think this way? Why do I say things like that? What is wrong with me? How could I have done that to them? That was so hurtful. I'm a terrible person. And then you're right back in that cycle. Those are your new intrusive thoughts, making you feel crappy again. So they just lead you in this cycle from obsessive thought to hurtful words or hurtful actions in your relationship that lead to more intrusive, unhappy thoughts about yourself. It's a really nasty cycle, and it can feel like it's nearly impossible to break. But you guys, it's not. There are some simple ways you can break this cycle. I'm Rachael Sloan. I help anxious people overcome intrusive thoughts and save their relationships, save their marriages. You can do it in just 30 days. That is what I do for my clients all the time, you guys. And if you want help with this, click the link in the comments and book a free strategy call with me today. In this video, I want to talk about how to stop your obsessive and intrusive thoughts, the ones that are driving your anxious behaviors in your relationship. But first, you need to make a commitment. How important is it that you stop these thoughts? What is at stake here? What happens if you don't change, if you don't get rid of these intrusive or obsessive thoughts? If you're finding these questions hard to answer for yourself, ask yourself this question. How do your intrusive thoughts and your anxiety affect the way you act towards your partner? Here are some things that I hear really commonly from people struggling with intrusive thoughts. I hear that they seek reassurance all the time from their partner to the point where it drives both of them crazy. They get needy, they get jealous, they get suspicious of every little thing or conversation or look, and they find themselves reacting to emotional triggers that they feel like they have no control over their emotional response to certain things. And those triggers might be their partner getting a text, or looking at a Facebook post, talking to an old friend or coworker, a phone being hidden, or even a movie or a TV show depicting something like cheating behavior or a divorce or an unfaithful partner. These things can be emotional triggers where you go from feeling fine one moment to feeling terrified, desperate, jealous, suspicious, needy, all over in the next moment. And you feel like you can't control your emotions. This is what I'm hearing from a lot of people that are having intrusive thoughts about their relationship. So if you continue to have these thoughts, if you continue to act needy, seeking reassurance, jealous, suspicious, getting emotionally triggered, what does your relationship look like a year from now? What does it look like 2 years from now? Does your marriage survive that long? Does your relationship even survive the next year or the next 2 years if this doesn't change? Guys, I know these are hard points to consider, but it's really important to ask yourself these questions if you want to make a change, because getting rid of intrusive thoughts is a simple process, but it is not easy. It takes work and it takes commitment from you. So what is at stake if you don't do that work? What are you risking if you don't take the initiative, make the commitment, and make a change for yourself? Here's a slightly more comfortable question. If those intrusive thoughts were gone, if your obsessive thoughts were gone, what would change in your marriage? What would change in your relationship? What I see with people is once these thoughts let go, loosen their grip on them, they find that their communication is so much clearer with their partner. They find that they experience and give genuine affection. They're able to appreciate and receive the love from their partner in all the many ways that their partner loves them. People become less selfish, less self-obsessed, because I'm sorry guys, but relationship anxiety makes you selfish in your relationship. And they find that they're finally able to show love to their partner the way that they want. Because here's the crazy thing. I often hear this from my clients and other people who struggle with anxiety, is that anxiety, that fear of losing their partner, actually stops them from showing their partner how much they love them. And of course, that's one thing that really could save your relationship, save your marriage, is demonstrating and showing and sharing the love you feel. But instead, that anxiety causes people to be hot and cold, to be needy and jealous and suspicious and distant and defensive. None of these things are expressing your love for your partner. So how do you stop intrusive and obsessive thoughts, right? We see that there's a lot at stake here. A lot of people tell me their very marriage, their very relationship is at stake if they don't stop these thoughts. And look how much better that relationship could be if those thoughts were gone. So how do you stop them? There are 4 steps. First is committing, really looking at what is at risk, what is at stake, and deciding, committing to changing those intrusive thoughts, to getting rid of them. The second step is to explore. I talk about this a lot, you guys, getting curious about what's happening in your brain. So when you have these thoughts, when you have these fears, and they come up for you, the best way to get curious is to ask yourself 2 simple questions. So what? And what am I making this mean? He's texting somebody, right? Let's say your partner's texting or hiding their phone. And you're like, oh my gosh, she's definitely texting that girl from work, and I know he loves her and he's going to leave me for her. Okay, so what? What am I making that mean? What am I making it mean about him, about me, about the relationship? Maybe you're making it mean that he doesn't love you, that you're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not smart enough. What are you making it mean? Get curious about what's in your brain, what is underlying all of those intrusive, obsessive thoughts that are coming up for you. 2 questions to do that, you guys. What am I making this mean? And the simple one, so what? So what? He's texting that girl from work, so what? What am I making that mean? The third step is to start to question, what else could this mean? What is another explanation? How might somebody else see this situation? You're going to get curious about what's in your brain, and then you're going to start holding yourself accountable. How do I know that's true? What evidence is there that it's not true? What evidence is there that I am good enough, that he does love me? And finally, the 4th step is to systematically and intentionally retrain your brain. This means choosing new thoughts to think about yourself and about the relationship on purpose and practicing them. So if you believe you're not good enough and he doesn't really love you, well, then you want to practice thoughts about how you are good enough, how he does love you. And you might be going, well, that's crazy, because obviously he doesn't. There's all this evidence, right? There's all this evidence in my history of how I'm not good enough, of how I always get cheated on, of how I always get left, whatever those intrusive, obsessive thoughts are for you. But you guys, here is the crazy thing about brains. Your thoughts are what everything stems from. The thoughts you think about yourself and about your relationship, those thoughts create the way you feel, the way you act and show up in the world and in your relationship, and the results you get in your life. It all stems from your thoughts. Remember what we looked at earlier with the intrusive thoughts. When you're having these intrusive thoughts, look at all the ways you act in your marriage. Look at all the ways you show up in your relationship. You're needy, you're jealous, you're suspicious, you're seeking reassurance. Your emotions are out of control and easily triggered by all kinds of outside stimuli. And remember, we imagined what it would be like to let go of those intrusive thoughts. What if they were gone? Magically, you woke up tomorrow, they were gone. Then we see a relationship where you communicate clearly. You show real affection and love to your partner. You receive and welcome that love and affection. You start to create a wholesome, healthy relationship. The only difference in those 2 situations, those 2 sets of actions and behaviors, is the thoughts, the presence or lack of those intrusive, obsessive, insecure thoughts about yourself, about your partner, and about your relationship. So continuing to think those old thoughts is going to keep you stuck exactly where you are in that same cycle of negative behaviors that's pulling your relationship down or maybe even breaking it apart. Thinking the same things about yourself and about your relationship will only lead to more of the same results. And I know this is a hard one to stomach because a lot of us feel like we really need to focus on our faults, on the things we've done wrong, on the mistakes we've made, so that we can learn and change what we do in the future. But it just doesn't work that way. If you hold on to all those old beliefs that I'm not good enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not smart enough, he's going to leave me, he's too good for me, she's going to fall in love with somebody else. Whatever those thoughts are for you, if you hold on to them, you are going to end up right in the same place or a worse place in your relationship. So you have to do something kind of bold and kind of audacious. You have to think the new thoughts before there's any evidence to support them. You have to practice intentionally believing that you are good enough, you are smart enough, you are beautiful enough. They do love you. They have chosen to be with you. They're going to stay. This relationship is going to last forever. You have to dream audacious dreams, dream big thoughts, and intentionally put them into your brain. Choose new thoughts. Think them on purpose. Practice them day in and day out. And I'm telling you right now, this is going to feel awful. It is not going to feel good as you start to make new neural pathways and shift the way you think about yourself and about your relationship. You're going to feel this crazy cognitive dissonance because you're holding two really contradictory thoughts in your brain at the same time. I'm not good enough. I am good enough. That doesn't feel good. Your brain starts to go a little wonky. If you hold on to it, if you persevere and you keep on practicing your new thoughts without fail, if you ignore your brain when it tries to protest and tell you to stop, you will eventually change that default pathway.